So I don't know what you remember from our previous exchanges.
Right.
What do you remember?
I remember you made that like really cool film with your dad, right?
Yeah, I don't hate Las Vegas anymore.
No, the one where you're on acid or something.
Ecstasy.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
It was called I Don't Hate Las Vegas Anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so. I remember I was like, whoa.
Yeah, you liked it.
Yeah.
That's the only one you've seen, right?
I don't know. I would have to look at a list. I don't. Yeah.
But like, somebody got your number, and I called you, and I'd seen Gummo, and I just loved it to death. And then I sent you that film, and then you used to call me like often like at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Right.
If you remember any of this.
No.
I assumed you were like stoned.
Yeah.
In some sense.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to get this film made called I'm a Sex Addict.
Right.
Do you ever see that one?
I know. I don't remember.
You remember it. I think.
Yeah.
But I was trying to get you to act in it.
Oh, that I think. Yeah.
So I sent you the script.
Yeah.
I was trying to get Chloe to act in it also.
Right.
You gave me an address like in Connecticut.
Right.
And then like you disappeared.
Yeah.
and you sort of like turned me on to Will Oldham.
Yeah.
And also Alan Clark.
Yeah.
Which are both like I didn't know them.
Yeah,
but I, hugely loved them both. And I did this film with Will called Tripping with Kaveh.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
You saw that one?
Yeah. I like that one.
And then I think I asked you if you wanted to do it, and then you were like, I don't do drugs anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That was probably
And,
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the new film, it's like full of drugs. So I was just curious, like, are you still not doing any drugs?
No, I haven't done any in just so long. But I mean, I can still remember them.
Yeah.
But not like, I left that a while ago.
Yeah.
But the new movie, it's definitely, it's like a stoner.
Yeah.
It's like a stoner whirlwind.
Yeah. The thing that struck me watching, I watched it last night, was like, it just seems so like a self-portrait.
Yeah.
I guess all your films are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because it's weird, like, I get that too. It's like everyone's always like, you're him and that's you. And they said that about almost every character. I remember they saying that about Alien and when in Spring Breakers and like all these things. And I mean, maybe because I write them and stuff, and maybe there's certain things that are, maybe certain things, but I feel so also disconnect. Like my life's nothing like his life.
Yeah, I don't mean externally,
but
the internals of it feel like you're a spirit.
Yeah. That definitely the internals. I like the way you said that.
Yeah,
the internals feel like your spirit. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, and also the whole struggle like between like fun and kind of an anti-moralist stance.
Yes.
And like, what do you do about capitalism?
Yes.
And and how do we deal with like the problem of navigating this world of corruption in a fun way that celebrates life?
Yes.
It's like, it seems like it's all very you.
Yeah. No, that part, and the idea of like his poetry, his writing or his poetry really is just, it's more about his life or more about him. He's like more of like a poet of life. Like it's about the fun and the joy and the moment, the experience.
Yeah, when he talks about fun in the film, it seemed kind of like the moment when I felt like it was like your voice most directly. Like it seemed like it was your like...
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he's not really political. He's not really...
At all,
but it almost makes him political. People read into it in this way. This is interesting to me. But... he really is. I think he's more of like a sensualist. I thought of it where it's like, if one joint feels good, he needs to smoke 10 of them. And I wanted to make a film about this guy who is like, he's kind of like based on this idea. For me, it's like almost this like strange. Utopian ideal of this Key West representative, like checkout culture, kind of fuck it all movement, where it's like people go to just kind of celebrate like a lack of ambition, and
that's not you.
No, but I admire that.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like I do like admire that. I like admire people who's like. Just like watch the sunset and live on houseboats, and like I look at that and I find it desirable.
Yeah,
But I also with him it was like I thought it was interesting to create a character where it was like no matter what he had in front of him, no matter like how much money or how little money, whether he was living in mansions or under bridges or whatever, it was always going to be fun for him.
He was always the same. He was the same no matter what happened around him.
Doesn't have I mean, people get upset because there's no, conventional character arc or something, but it's like I didn't think he would ever have what you would call, or that kind of typical narrative character arc. I felt like he was always just going. He was always like prowling.
Yeah, I mean, there was a kind of a character arc in that, like, there's this thing set up with the money, and that there's this sort of telos that there's going to be this money at the future, and that's going to maybe change something.
Yes.
And then he, immediately, deliberately blows it all.
Yeah.
So in a way,
no, that's definitely yeah. But the arc in that, like, people want to break him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or have him be this kind of redemptive. There's always this tendency for people to want immoral characters or people with a kind of moral ambiguity to like break.
Right.
And then like, and so that's not a thing. That's not really a thing for him.
I mean, the form of that is the book that he writes.
Right.
Right. And there's almost this like notion that would be some kind of moral uplift.
Yeah.
And he does it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it changes anything.
No. Yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's strange, because he's like this guy you hear the word genius thrown at him.
Which is a word that's thrown at you a lot.
Right. And then you hear this thing, but he doesn't really, I like the idea that he doesn't really care about it. Because you're so conditioned to like this idea of genius or like, talent in this way where it's like that Mozart, that Francis Bacon, that thing where it's like you carry this like pressure to create.
Or a responsibility.
And I like the idea of it being more of like a burden. Do you know what I mean? You're just like, it's like a guy, I was like saying, it's like someone who's like born, he's 7 foot tall, and all he has to do to dunk, everyone wants to see him dunk, all he has to do is just like stick his arm up, and he just doesn't want it, but he doesn't want to dunk.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to do it. I like that obstinance.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of Rimbaud in a sense, or the myth of Rimbaud.
Yeah.
Which, I think intersects with your myth in a way.
Right.
Too.
Right.
But like the work there, like Rimbaud basically, I think, is like, he's the most talented poet of all time.
Yeah.
At the youngest age.
Yeah.
And he just turns his back on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And in a way, the book that he's writing seems like, you would say like the work, I mean, the film is like the book.
Yeah.
In that, you're trying to make a work, and yet you have to find a way to do it that doesn't fall into the traps of ambition, the traps of ego, the traps of capitalism, and does it in a celebratory way that doesn't turn away from the work either, the way Rimbaud does.
Sure, yeah. Or like, I prefer Rambo.
Right.
Like the way Rambo goes into the jungle, takes all those dudes down, and goes back.
Do you really prefer Rambo?
Oh, to Rimbo? Of course, definitely. I'll take Rambo every time.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Rambo, he was great. He was like misunderstood, I think.
I mean, I like that film. But
it would be good if you put Rimbo voiceover over Rambo.
It would. There is a film to be made with that. I want to talk about, I mean, look, watching your career since kind of early on. I mean, I remember I was at the premiere of Kids in L.A.
Wow.
And I forget who the guy was at that company, but I knew this guy, and he invited me to this dinner afterwards.
Right.
And Chloe was there, and the kid from the show was there.
Right. Justin, maybe? Or
yeah, I forget which one.
Right.
But it was like I went with some friends, and we were all like completely blown away by the movie, and it was just like this really amazing thing. And then Gummo, like even more so.
Yeah.
But like I just sort of watched you work through the system, and really my biggest curiosity as a person is just like there's this sort of period, which is kind of like between the Connecticut address and Mr. Lonely, where you sort of disappear.
Yeah.
And I've heard different stories and rumors. I have no idea what's true.
Yeah.
Will told me something. There was a house burned down.
Yeah.
And you were in Paris.
Yeah.
And there was like a drug problem.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know you usually tend to like to be playful around biography, but
it was like I had like always liked to mow yards and stuff when I was a kid.
Mow yards?
Like cut down yards.
Oh.
Like I just really, when I was young, my first job when I lived out in Tennessee was like to mow people's yards. And then I was so good at mowing, you know, like I could go up on ditches and I can get it right at the edge. And then one day I was like mowing a yard and this like piece of gravel like smashed me right between my eyes.
From the lawnmower? Like
yeah, it got
hit
caught
it
in the thing, and it's like I wasn't never wear goggles. And so I stopped mowing yards. And you know, I got more into then movies. No, and then around that time that you're talking about, I know this maybe sounds strange, but I really did like start fantasizing again about like going back to that type of thing, you know, because like I could like the more like I mowed a yard, like the more clean my mind felt. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like the more, and I never did any type of meditating or anything, but like when I did that, like I felt like really, like I knew the job that was in front of me. You know, like I knew, like I just had to clear this yard, and then I can go like I can make like $10, and I can go like 2 yards over and clear that yard. So like I started to try to figure out in my own way how I could get back into the yard working business. You know what I mean?
This is after Julian Donkey Boy.
Yeah, it's that period that you're talking about, you know? And and so like, I went to Europe. I pretty much, I just stopped making film.
Right.
Because I just didn't really even know if I wanted to.
Which I would call the Rambo moment.
Yeah, the Rambo moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Stallone goes into the jungle. And I just kind of was like, you know, because I had been mostly making movies since I was even in high school. So I didn't really have what you would call like a transitional period, you know? And I wasn't really like I wasn't so amped on the idea of just making films. And like I wanted to do other things. And then I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do things that had to do with anything in the entertainment world. And so, but I really just wanted to like go off and mow yards or just like hang out. And so that's when I was like, that period, I pretty much was just tripping out. I lived in the jungle for a little while, was in Central America, went to Europe for a little bit. And then, it was probably almost 10 years or not, 7 years or something like that.
Yeah, and then what made you come back?
Well, what happened was I started like thinking in like images again. I started like drawing again and like painting, and I started to think about, there's this image. I want to see like nuns jumping out of airplanes on BMX bikes and like, doing tricks in the clouds and stuff. It was just something like that. It was like, I wasn't really sure like where it came from or what it meant. There was just specific things that I wanted to see. And then I was like, maybe I can, at that point I was like, maybe I could try to make movies again, or maybe I could, So that's kind of how I started writing scripts again.
It reminds me of, in the myth of Orpheus. You know the myth of Orpheus, right?
No, I never heard of it.
Really?
The myths of Orpheus?
Orpheus.
Yeah, Orpheus.
The poet, the Greek poet.
Yeah. The guy that was
his wife dies.
The guy that was in The Matrix.
Goes into hell, Morpheus.
I know.
Okay. So, usually the myth is like he goes to hell to get his wife back, and they say, you can have her back, but you can't turn around to look at her while you're in hell. You got to wait till you get out, right?
Yeah.
And the usual, and then he looks back before he gets out, and he loses her, right? And everyone's like, what a dumb fuck.
Yeah.
But
is that in the Bible?
No, it's a Greek myth.
Oh, okay. I never read the Bible.
It's not in the Bible.
All right.
But like Maurice Blanchot, the French writer, has this essay about the myth of Orpheus where he says, Orpheus is the artist, and he's the guy who has to turn back to look, because that's what artists do. They look into hell. They look into death, look in the face of death. And the problem with art is if you look too much into the face of death, you die. But if you don't look enough, you have nothing to say, or nothing deep to say. So the artist is he who turns back to look, but does it just in the balanced way that he can still speak, right? He can still say what he saw. And Blanchot is like, uses Rimbaud actually as an example of like the artist who looks too deeply at the face of death and can't speak anymore. And he tries that gesture. And I think any artist who's really worth their salt, like, has to, I think, grapple with like, why am I doing this? Why is this important? On some level, it's not. And is it an ego thing? Is it an attachment? How do I like navigate the Scylla and Charybdis of that, right? And it seems to me like this film is kind of a little bit about that.
Right. The Rambo?
Orpheus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Moondog is Orpheus, who's also the poet.
And Rambo.
Yes. And he has to look back at
the way he goes in the jungle and slaughters those dudes. That's the way Moondog, he's like slaughtering life.
Yeah. But you are navigating this, the making of work. You often use this metaphor that often Herzog uses about like, I think it's like a film warrior or something, or a soldier for cinema, right? And this idea that cinema is a kind of like a god, or it's a power that we are faithful to, that we bow down to, right? And I feel this too. It's like it's a calling, or it's a religion, right? And like a filmmaker is like a priest or a prophet of this religion of beauty, of this medium that we are all sort of submit to. And yet there's also this need to like not be shackled to it, right? Which is the impulse to say, no, I'm not doing it anymore, or I don't have to do this. And it seems to me that your work sort of embodies that ambivalence a lot.
Yeah, I don't really know, I don't really even know if it like is how I feel about it anymore.
Your work?
No, just
filmmaking?
Yeah, just everything. Like, I just don't know. Like, I used to feel that, but I don't really know if I feel that anymore.
Right. How would you describe how you feel?
I just don't know.
Now?
I just don't know what it means. Like, I just don't know like what it really means anymore. I'm not saying my work, but I'm just saying I used to have that idea that, like, close to what you were saying. I used to, but now I just don't know. It kind of means everything and nothing. Like, I don't know what people really get from it all anymore. Do you know what I'm saying?
But like, you're making another film after this one, I assume.
Yeah, but I know, it's entertainment. So it's like...
Are you thinking of it as entertainment?
Yeah, I think it's, I used to think maybe it was something more, and that was important. And I'm just not sure anymore. I just don't know.
Do you feel like this film is entertainment as opposed to what's the opposite of entertainment for you?
Yeah, I wanted to make this film like a I grew up on Cheech and Chong movies and stuff, and I wanted to make a film that kind of had this like I always loved that watching those movies. I just loved like how high the films were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the narrative almost felt like weed smoke, and like it also, if you look at them now, it really inhabits this idea of a kind of cosmic America that maybe exists and maybe it doesn't exist. But I wanted the film really to just be that, to be like a comedy, pure.
And because?
Just because I wanted to entertain.
As a gesture of love towards the world?
Yeah, I don't know. I just I just wanted to laugh.
I remember we talked years ago. I remember a lot of the things that we talked about, actually. But one was, I think we were talking about Don't Look Back, the Dylan film. I was going to make a film about you, like A Day in Your Life. Do you remember this? And we were going to do it at your grandmother's house.
Right, wow.
And then you were about to go into production on Julian Donkey Boy.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I should just do a day in life of you making Julian Donkey Boy. That's probably going to be more interesting for film history. Yeah. And then Scott McCauley was like, nah, I don't want you filming during the making of that. It's going to like distract Harmony or something. And then it got quashed.
Right.
Which I kind of regret, because it would be nice to like just capture a day in your life at that period.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I know.
Dang, bro. What happened?
Well, there was this guy who had money. I had no money.
Right.
Who offered to but he wanted to he liked you and he wanted to come and shoot it. And I was like, I just didn't want him around. I didn't like him that much. Right. So I just was like, I don't want to do that. And then I thought the Junagi Boy thing would happen, and then And then you disappeared after that.
Bastards. Always lurking.
But I remember we talked about Don't Look Back in relationship to this Day in the Life thing, and I was kind of trashing it a little bit, and you were saying how much you loved it, and I think at some point you said this, and maybe Dylan says this in the film, but I think you describe yourself as an entertainer.
Yeah.
Which isn't that what also Dylan says in an interview?
Maybe so. But I think it's just trying. I just try to make things happen. You know what I mean? Like just trying to entertain the troops. You ever watch Bob Hope?
Yeah.
I mean, that's some good stuff.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like the way he swung a golf club, make 50,000 people crack up one go. I'm just swinging golf clubs, bro.
Is it kind of like that Preston Sturges film, Sullivan's Travels, where he's, that film?
Yeah.
Where at the end he's just like, I just want to make the chain gang people laugh because they have such a hard life.
I don't know. I just more like, with this movie, I'm just trying to entertain.
Did you feel like Spring Breakers was different than that? Or
No,
same impulse?
I like that. That's a similar...
And Lonely Hearts? I mean, Mr. Lonely?
Lonely Hearts. Yeah, I mean, that was a little different because I was like coming out of something else and into something. I was like coming out and going into something else. But the last two, like I feel like I'm trying to really roll with that. Like you want people to get like lit and sitting in the theater and just roll with it. Lit
means literally lit?
Yeah.
Or metaphorically lit?
Yeah, like we're pumping weed smoke into the theaters.
Oh, I see.
Like I got we got a couple of theaters now where we got these vents where they're just lighting hash into the atmosphere.
But you don't even smoke pot anymore.
No, I personally don't, but these people all do. And the culture is strong. You know what I mean? Like you got to take it to that level.
Well, what would you call what you were doing with Gummo, for example? You wouldn't call that entertainment.
No, it probably was. But I just don't remember. You know what I mean? Like I at that time, I was definitely trying to entertain. I always wanted to entertain. I never was trying to I don't have it to try to educate. I don't really know anything about that.
I mean, education is a word that sounds boring, and offensive.
Right.
But it seems like everyone is always teaching.
Yeah.
Just by their being, right? And it seems that one of the things about your work is and there aren't that many filmmakers like this, where their life and their work seem to be of a piece, right? And this is why Rambo again is a reference here, because
Rambo is you stick with what's his name? I'm going with Rambo.
But it's like part of the appeal of your work is you and your attitude and your worldview. Like there's a worldview, there's a philosophy, there's a politics.
Yeah. Mostly what I do, I have this boat in Key Largo.
You do?
Yeah, it's the best boat. It's like it doesn't really go fast. It's just kind of pretty slow boat.
Is it like a motorboat?
No. It's it's got a motor on it for sure, but it's not a speedboat.
It's a sailboat?
No, it's not a sailboat.
It's not like that boat at the end of the movie that he's in.
No.
It's like a rowboat.
No. Yeah, that's like a sailboat. No, it's got 3 motors.
Oh,
3 propellers.
You can sleep in this boat.
Yeah, you could sleep in it. And so what I did is I put a carpet down on it and a mattress, and then there's this grocery store in Key Largo. It was going out of business. I bought 4 electronic poker machines from them. And I hooked it up I had this guy named Alberto, who's a friend of mine down there. He works the docks, and he rigged the poker machines up. And then I usually go down, and then I don't know if you like Taco Bell, but I mostly just eat Taco Bell. I get these Crunchwrap Supremes, and then a couple of quarts of Mountain Dew. And then I just go out on there, and if something happens, it's so nice. It's like
you go by yourself?
Yeah, I go by myself. Sometimes I take the kids. It really depends if I'm going to try to write or just hang out. I can fish there too, but I don't know. I really feel like I just cracked the nut. I discovered like the greatest thing on the planet. So when I eat the Crunch Wraps, drink the Mountain Dew, play the machines out in Key Largo, I can listen to that Christopher Cross dude, you know? You ever listen to Christopher Cross?
He's a musician?
Yeah, he's a musician. Made one really good record I think in the 80s. But then I just like, I'm out there and all those things, and you're like, man, really, that's like the best. That's the best it gets.
Yeah.
I don't really win money against myself, but it's like really fun.
Huh. So you think of yourself as a hedonist, kind of?
No, a hiddenness. I'm more hiddenist.
But you think fun is like the point of life in a way?
Yeah. Well, I think like, I don't know what the point of it is or anything really, but I just think in the end, I think there's just joy. And that recipe right there that I gave you is pure joy. That's why I was like, wanted you to know.
Thank you for the recipe. I'll try that. You have 2 kids, right? And the first one I remember, I met you at the opening of Trash Humpers.
Right.
I mean, we talked in the park for a while.
Right.
And I think you had a daughter at that point.
Right.
Lefty?
Lefty, yeah.
And then you have another kid, right?
Yeah, I have another kid, Hank. He was born while we were
shooting this one.
shooting it, yeah.
So he's like 1 or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I have 2 kids too. How do you feel like that has changed, or has it changed your outlook on film and art and fun?
It's cool. I mean, I got them like a badminton set the other day.
I love badminton.
So they like that, and they
Lefty must be like 5 or something.
Yeah, she's 15.
No,
I'm just kidding. She's actually 10.
She's not 10, is she?
Yeah, she's 10.
She's 10?
Yeah.
Wow, time flies.
Yeah. It really does. But like where we live, like manatees float by, and you could just like throw what are those things called? Vegetables.
Vegetables.
You can throw like a vegetable at them, and it's great.
You live in Miami?
Yeah.
And you see manatees?
Yeah, I see manatees in the backyard.
Oh, there's like a river?
No, it's the ocean.
Oh, your backyard is on the ocean?
Yeah, you can, and that's like they love vegetables. So they just come. Even the babies are like a couple of tons.
And you moved there because you liked shooting Spring Breakers there?
Yeah, and I like Cordadito, this like one place that sells it's a Cuban spot, and that puts it in a styrofoam cup in a way that I've never seen before. And then
I'm sorry, what is this?
It's just a Cuban coffee.
Oh,
basically.
coffee.
Yeah. It's like Cordadito, no sugar. And then they just ramp it up, bro, and you drink it, and you're like running around all day. They just put that super ramp in there.
Have you ever read the Wallace Stevens poems about Florida?
Oh, is Florida Days?
Well, there's Florida Days?
Oh, no, that's Jimmy Buffett.
There's the idea of order at Key West.
What happened?
Fabio of Florida.
I love, yes, Key West is great. They have those 6-toed cats. You ever seen those? Hemingway's 6-toed cats.
Hemingway?
His 6-toed cats.
Hemingway had a 6-toed cat?
Lots of them. There's like books about them. They're like the treasure there. They like roam the streets.
In Key West?
Yeah, the descendants of his cats, 6
Really?
toes. Yeah. And so like there's sometimes you can, it's pretty trippy. I like to go to the Ripley's Believe It or Not museum there. I go there like a couple times a year, and then you see having the 6-toed cat standing in front of Ripley's museum, on Duval Street.
Like live ones?
Yeah, they're just hanging out in front of the Ripley Museum. But it's like it's the best combo. I drink some Mountain Dew. And you can even get like the kind of.
I've never had Mountain Dew. Is it really good?
Yeah, it's good if you put like gummy bears at the bottom. And it just like trips you out. And so then I like.
It seems to me that there are 2 ways to deal with the the problems of language.
Right.
One is what I would call what you're doing or do often, which is sort of
Go surfing.
Yeah, playful, fucking with reality and sort of a rejection of the truth quotient of normal discourse.
Right.
The other way is to go, which is kind of the way I usually go, which is complete attempts for complete transparency and directness and honesty.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the way I don't even know. I think we're both on the same page. I don't even, you know what I'm saying? I think it's the same. I think it's the same thing.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I think it's the same thing.
Uh-huh.
But no, what I'm saying is Ripley's, have you ever been to the Ripley's?
Never.
It's way better than any movie. Like they have sculptures made of hair, human hair.
Have you been to the one in New York?
Yeah, the one here is good too.
It is?
Yeah, but not, the one in Key West is really, really good.
Uh-huh.
I got lifetime passes there from this dentist.
Because he liked your films?
Yeah, he's like a kind of really known dentist down there. And so I just go down there, rent a golf cart, and you could just drive around the streets and just go into Ripley's, hang out with the six-toed kid.
You can drive around streets in a golf cart?
Yep.
And you do that?
All the time. Ride through the graveyards down there.
What about parenting? Parenting is like a often fraught thing with responsibilities and stuff.
Yeah, it is.
How do you deal with it?
Dude, it's trippy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's trippy as hell. I think you just like roll with it, you know? I mean, luckily my wife is so good. And like, you know, she's like really great. And so I just take her lead. Because like, I don't know, have you ever read a book about it?
I have.
Well, I never have. I never. I read a paragraph on a pamphlet once. I felt good to go. But I mostly just follow the lead.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then like, you know, cartoons are really good. So if you, I think, watch like 4 or 5 hours of cartoons if you break it up in the course of a day, it's awesome.
You like cartoons?
Yeah, cartoons are good for the kids.
Yeah, I show my kids.
I grew up, I had a satellite dish.
How's your dad doing?
Good, they live in the jungle.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I remember years ago, around this period, you were doing a screening and anthology of your dad's films.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to go to that, and I was leaving town like the next day, and I ended up not being able to make it.
Yeah, I just had there's like a retrospective thing at the Pompidou in Paris, and like we showed them. It was nice.
Oh, cool.
We showed all of those. It was cool to see them. There's some really interesting ones. Kids are riding like bulls and, you know, moonshiners. They made some great ones.
Are you still in touch with Will Oldham?
Yeah, I just saw him last night.
You did?
He's here.
He's here?
Yeah. I just saw him.
Cool.
Yeah, I saw him. He's good.
Okay. Questions. I mean, like, Dylan has this thing where, like, if you ask him a question, he'll kind of, like, fuck with you. Right? And it seems to me, I mean, historically, you've always been in that same lineage.
You know what's cool about him is he plays a lot of shows in, like, baseball fields.
Yeah?
Minor leagues.
Yeah? And what's good about that?
Well, you ever watch a baseball minor league?
No.
Me neither. But I just like the field. No, it's cool. You get hot dogs and stuff hanging out. But I think that's like I was reading about that.
Well, okay, here's my question. I feel really close to you aesthetically.
Yeah.
I mean, my stuff's very different than yours, but like, I feel like I appreciate what you're doing, and I have a affection for what you're doing, and also I think there's a spiritual quest in there that I think is important. Yeah, and I think they're linked.
Yeah, I remember watching the thing with your dad. I was like, whoa, that blew me away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was just so trippy. You did that with your pop.
Thanks. You should watch the new one. The new one is better.
I will. I barely watch anything anymore, but I would love to watch if I could see it. I would love it.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Yeah.
But why don't you watch stuff anymore so much? Is it because like things seem like pointless?
I just can't put my finger on it. I still do watch things, but like I don't really know what it is. Like nothing seems that like interesting to me. I don't know if it's just like at some point it's like there's like a peak saturation, you know, where it's just like it's difficult, you know, and then other things I just kind of enjoy, just like try to just living life, you know, or just doing things that aren't that. I can't put my finger on it. I still have moments, I think, where I see things. Sometimes it's just like a clip or something on the internet or whatever, but I still do have moments where I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty great. But I don't know what it is. It's not the same for me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like there was a period when everything seemed like important because it was salvational on some level. Like, you know, like it was like like believing in God, and then you're like, oh, this is just smoke and mirrors or something. Like, and where the ambition thing like doesn't do it for you anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing because it's like it was an illusion to begin with that cinema was ever a god.
Yeah, or maybe just believe in God.
Yeah. And just But so I think there's something healthy about that. And again, back to the Rambo thing, it seems like that struggle, for me, I experience it as despair. Like the old gods don't do it for me anymore. And I haven't found like the joy of just living. And so I'm still trying to like find like some pathway between those two. But it seems like you found like joy.
Well, I just mostly just trip out and I drink that Gatorade. I mean, I do drink Gatorade, but I drink Mountain Dew. And you can sip it through a baby bottle. You get super like joy. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's all it takes. You know what I mean? Like
Do you really sip Mountain Dew through a baby bottle?
Put a couple of Jolly Ranchers at the bottom, let them melt, but I don't put any, hydrocodone in there. You know, because that's traditionally how you drink it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's basically like you sip lean, but I hold the actual syrup. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Really? You guys know what he's talking about? Okay.
You know what I mean? Right?
Okay, everyone's nodding. Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's a drug thing? Codeine? More nodding. Okay. Cool.
So, how's everything else in life?
Well, I got divorced recently.
Whoa.
That's hard.
What was that like? Did they come after you?
Who?
The women?
There's just one.
Wait, someone said you only have one?
I'm only married to one person.
Oh, okay.
At a time.
It wasn't a double banger?
No.
All right. Because some of those double bangers are crazy.
Meaning like an affair?
Well, you said that.
Okay.
But what happened? They came after your wallet?
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
And the children, like there's a lot of stuff in there that's hard. But the show that I've been doing is called A Show About the Show. The premise is every episode is about the making of the previous episode.
Right.
And so it was just about what was happening during the making of the film.
Right.
And then everything that's happening around it. And so there was things with the actress and then my wife. And so the whole breakup is on the show. Like the show documents.
Is it more of a comedy or a horror film?
It's a funny tragedy.
Oh, so you're right in the middle.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, right in the middle.
So is that good?
It's good artistically. I mean, it hasn't been like a joyride.
Right. The whole thing is right. That's not fun.
Yeah.
But did the kid turn out okay?
My two kids?
They're both there?
Yeah.
And they're okay?
In the show?
No, with your wife?
They're okay. My kids
but
are good.
They're with the wife?
Well, we share them.
Oh, okay. 50-50?
60-40.
All right. Which one did you get?
I got 40.
Oh, that's
Short
better.
end of the
That's
straw.
better than nothing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But so in the end, it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything is always for the best in the end, right?
I don't know. Ask Rambo.
Maybe not suicide.
Wait, he killed himself?
No, I'm not sure the suicide is always for the best in the end.
What the hell? Sue killed himself. Bro, you're freaking me out.
Do you like Joseph Cornell?
The artist?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
He used to like Ripley's Believe It or Not a lot. He used to go there.
Yeah, I mean, Ripley is the best. Like, for me, Ripley might be the best artist. Even his drawings were so good. Like, Ripley really might be the best.
Ripley did art?
Yeah, you never looked at a cartoon? That's how he started.
No.
Yeah.
Ripley's Believe It or Not was a cartoonist?
Yeah. Ripley's Believe It or Not. The best the best. Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, Ripley.
I'm going to look for it.
That's about as good as it gets. That's some serious entertainment.
What period?
Periods?
What period was Ripley a cartoonist in?
I think it was the, probably the 30s, 40s.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he used to travel to all those places. He'd find like a four-headed camel. He'd draw it.
Oh.
And then put a caption under it. And he'd be like, dude in the Sahara on a four-headed camel. Believe it or not.
Do you guys believe what he's saying?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not like it's an obscure thing. I read them to my kids at night. They're the best.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. You think I'm jiving, bro?
Yeah, I did.
Come on, man.
You want to put a bow on this?
Yeah, man, put your bow on. Wrap it up, snort it down, lick it, slurp it, dance with it, put a bow around it.
Okay, that's your bow.
We love it.
My bow is, it was really nice talking to you again.
Same here, man.